I don't know.
Hello, Oracle and curious peoples out there. How are you all doing today? Today, special guest, special time, special live stream. We have Pejjy on here. We are going to be discussing lots of things today. We're going to be discussing deliveries, production, Q2 earnings, the macro environment. So much to talk about. Pejjy, how the heck have you been?
I'm doing well. And first of all, hello, Oracle. So I just had to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, hope everyone's doing well, whoever's tuning in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I know this is a different time than normal for us, but hey, you make things happen when you have awesome people on. So,
Let's
so
go.
So Pejjy, we'll start. Let's go right into what we saw last week. So we'll get into Tesla stuff in a minute, but the
Okay.
macro environment. The Fed came out. We had a pause. However, the Fed is pausing and telling us that they're most likely going to be raising interest rates still again 2 more times this year. How do you feel
Yeah.
about it?
Well, I didn't expect the two extra ones, to be honest. But they didn't say exactly when, right? They said that they just have that in mind that they want to just do it, or is it a set date in July or August?
Not
I
a
didn't
set.
catch that part.
It wasn't a set date, but when Jerome Powell was speaking, he did make a Freudian slip and say we're going to skip this one. So I'm kind of wondering if they already have planned a 25 basis point hike for July. Um, and maybe they're going to do like in every other. So they kind of been tapering. So they went from 75 basis to 50 to 25. Now they're kind of doing like a 25, but every other meeting. So I'm almost wondering if that's how they're truly doing it. But they have a terminal rate goal for the end of the year of 5.6%.
Um, I mean, that's pretty heavy when inflation is at 4%, and then it's gonna keep most likely next month or this month. That's gonna show next month. It's gonna be in the mid threes or maybe 3.75. I don't know. To be honest, I would hold the hikes for a couple of months, few months, see how inflation is doing. But at this point, I mean, come on, we're there. We're pretty much there. There's no point of hiking anymore. I don't know. I'm in favor of pausing and not increasing anymore. That I'm in favor of that. I was a bit shocked when they said two more rate hikes, and I'm just like, but why? Some people in the comments on of the videos that I made, they're like, this could be a bluff, and I'm just like, maybe it's a bluff, because if they start to say that, okay, if we're gonna pause or if we're gonna start cutting, maybe consumers will go like, okay, then I won't be much in a financial. I won't be as bad, right? But now they're saying there's an extra two hikes. This might put a pause on larger purchases, like maybe a home, maybe a car. But then when we look at data, what Tesla is doing, they're raising prices. We're seeing sales, increasing. So I don't know. It's a weird economy, but I'm not in favor of these two rate hikes, to be honest,
Yeah,
at the
my thoughts on
moment.
it were the same thing. Where if the Fed just paused, I think they might have been afraid that the market was just going to run and all the work that they had done could be undone because once we hit a pause, they're going to run it and people are going to run it to try and force a pivot. And then that could make things worse. So I
Yeah.
think that, like you said, maybe it is a bluff. Maybe they just said it to kind of squash the market from a full run beyond where it should be. Um, but then again, maybe there's other data that's in there. Looking at the housing market, that still has yet to cool off. So, maybe they want to push it
True.
up and really, really force that hand because that's the last piece that needs to fall. And maybe that's really what it is. That was my thought on it, but I don't know. I mean, we still have 6 to 12 months. And not only that, but even the rate hikes that we have seen, we still have yet, and even Jerome Powell said it, we still have yet to feel the effects of the rates that they have currently raised. So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're still. I mean, if you look at it, jobs are hitting all-time highs. Stock market is coming back. I mean, we look at it. No, it looks like nobody cares about these rate hikes, which is a little bit concerning. I'm not gonna
yes.
lie. And I know in Toronto, home values are going back up again, and that's just, even though they just recently increased another 0.5, 0.25 just last week, it's still going up. But I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
Oh, I know. And like I'm looking for houses and I switched my views from multifamily homes to single family just because I wanted to see what other options were out there. There's a lot more options for single family homes, so that is true. And I have been seeing some prices getting reduced, but they're still just ridiculous. Like a 1 bathroom, 2 bedroom house for $350,000 in my area is absolutely astronomical. Like it should be
Wow.
$250,000 at the most.
Well,
So we still have a long way for these prices to come down.
In your area, I mean, that's cheap. In Toronto,
Oh yeah.
1,000 square foot home, $1.5 million. So
I say, and going around Connecticut, it depends on where you are, because you can travel 30 minutes, and that house value of 350,000 is a great deal versus where it's at now, where it's a terrible deal.
You know, this is more of a global thing. Even here in Kuwait, man, I mean, even though as foreigners, we can't buy property. We're not allowed to. I mean, that's the law of this entire region, except for Dubai. The whole region, if you're not a citizen of that country, you are not allowed to have any property. You're not allowed to run any businesses unless it's under a sponsor, only to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And even rents here, man. Rents are, I mean, a friend of mine who's living in a 4-bedroom apartment. The rent, if I convert it to US dollars, it's about almost $4,000 a month.
Wow, that's like San Francisco type pricing.
And I'm just like, well, this is in the middle of the desert, man. Like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, like I was even looking at property, and it's good to know that, it's not just where I was looking, but I was looking, hey, Indonesia. I was like, if Tesla's going to open up a factory in Indonesia, property values go through the roof. So can I get, a house or property over there? And same thing, you can't. And I think if you wanted to buy in Indonesia, not being a citizen, minimum was $600,000.
I mean, that's still a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
it's ridiculous. But again, this, folks, when you're looking at it, it's not just a U.S. thing. This is a global economy thing, and the U.S. being the largest economy out there is what is really going to affect a lot of other things going on as well.
And this is why I'm more convinced that something eventually has to break.
Yes.
For the Fed to reduce rates, because there's no point for them to reduce the rates, even if inflation reaches 2%. If they reduce interest rates, we're going to see inflation come back again fast, because look at the market. Everyone's still buying. Everyone is like spending like crazy. So it's either going to be a long pause, or worst comes to worst, they're going to increase another 2 more, maybe another 3, 4 more. I have no idea, but I'm anticipating a long pause, because the market's too hot, even with all this stuff going on. Something eventually is going to break.
Right. And I think that's exactly why they mentioned raising the rates, is because not that they want something to break, but there are things that still need, like, we're not healed yet. This is like putting Band-Aids on wounds and not letting the wound heal properly. And if the Fed just pauses and lets things run wildly, then that wound won't be healed, and something will break even more drastically in the future. So this is why I still think by the end of this year, within the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to see a big, massive market pullback. That's just my take on it, because I think the Fed almost has to push us to that point to get what they want. And if they don't do it, then we're going to have almost a runaway inflation. It doesn't seem like it now because we've been coming down so much in the last year, but yeah, for them to get it in line and steady and stable. And that's really what the Fed says, is their job is to keep stable pricing, and having the inflation swing up and down. Like, we're steadily coming down. Now we need to get it to that 2% level and stay there. And
no, it's crazy. It's crazy that 2020, this is the after effects of it.
Oh, I know.
That's just insane. This could last to like another 2-3 years.
Right. Well, and
black swan event can do so much damage. It's ridiculous.
Oh, exactly. Even the Fed said, their rate for the end of 2025 still is 3.6%. So it's not like these rates are coming down fast anytime soon. It's going to take some time. I mean, you figure when we had almost basically 2 years of 0% interest rates, with people just borrowing money for free, huge margin loans, everything that was out there. It's a big reason why we saw Tesla came crashing down. Was, I apologize if you guys can hear that construction going on my neighbor's place. But there was some, free money for 2 years. And when you have all of that free money, people are just going in there. You saw Tesla come crashing down because of it. And, the Fed doesn't want to have that happen again. But because we had 2 years of that, you got to picture it's going to be at least 2 years of us on the other side of it to recover from it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Paul, forget that macro happened to your head. So over this weekend on Saturday, we had an event for one of my coworkers who has cancer, and it was he's a firefighter. It was Go Bald for a Brother. And so because I'm basically bald anyway, I decided to go and trim the beard as well to support him. So that is That is why this is the way it is right now. It's much
Now you're looking
cleaner and
fresh.
easier to deal with now, though.
So looking fresh.
Yes. Let's see what else we got in here for questions. Yeah, Fed's just keeping options open. That's true. And that, everybody gives the Fed a whole lot of shit because everybody else is playing, Monday morning quarterback saying this is what the Fed should be doing. And the Fed's using lagging data and all sorts of stuff.
Well, I mean, like, they have a point there because, when they kept saying, inflation was transitory, I mean.
Yeah. True.
You know what I mean?
True. And one thing that Jerome Powell has been saying is they're just going data point to data point. And that's what they're doing at the moment, is going data point to data point. So they've really stuck to those guns. They haven't changed that at all. And at this point here, Jerome Powell came out and said, hey, we feel like the data right now, we're going to wait to see what the next one looks like. So we'll, skip this meeting with a pause, and then we'll get the information for the June inflation, middle of July, see what the numbers look like at that point. And then they'll say, hey, do we need to raise rates again, or are we going to wait another meeting? And that's probably what it will end up being.
Yeah. Taking it step by step. Yeah.
Yeah. Rate hikes are transitory. Oh yeah, Marty, Boston, anywhere that any of the cities are absolutely insane when it comes to rents and everything. Let's see, run through some questions here. We got to ask what is the reason the Fed raises rates, and then ask, has this happened? So one thing my dad had pointed out over this past week when I saw him was, you go back to the early 80s, interest rates were, on a house, 13 to 16%. So they were stupid high. And we also have to remember that for the better part of the last decade, basically from the housing market crash until 2016, interest rates were near zero. They were super low for 7-8 years. And it wasn't until 2016 that they started going up on rates again. And they were finally getting back to the point where they were at that 2 to 3% rate range. And then COVID hit and they went back to zero again. So, you almost have like thinking about if 2 years worth of no interest caused, 2 to 3 years worth of us having pain, how about the 7 years that we had at the beginning of this whole bull run? Yeah. It's weird because, like you said, it's a weird economy because we're at 0% interest rates. And are we going to see a bull run with interest rates at 4% versus 2%? I mean, we're going to be pushing 5.5% interest rates. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. All I know is that we are not settled. And one of the things I pay attention to is like a curve like this. And whenever you picture a rubber band, you pull back a rubber band and it's going to bounce hard to begin with, but eventually it slows down and comes back and settles. That's kind of what the market is going to end up doing, is it's going to be bouncing back and forth. So we're going to see some swings up and down, but those swings will get less and less over time. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? If we take a look back at like the stock market back at, I think, what was it, in the 70s or 80s, where there was, interest rates were like 15, 16, 17%, as you said. There were years that the stock market was hitting all-time highs because everything was doing well.
Yeah.
So I think we're going back, not going back to that era, but we're going to a similar era like that. So.
Yeah. And really, I mean, going to a true bull run, I don't think we're in it yet. I think we're going to have a nice bull run as we're in right now. But I think we still need to see the housing market and everything else hit a true bottom, and then we'll recover from that. It's not going to be, a V-shaped bounce or anything, but
yeah, unless they start printing money and reducing cuts like they did in 2020.
Yeah. Where do you guys think Tesla will go in the short term? Please be realistic. I like to take a little profit, investor from Denmark. So none of this is financial advice, but we will give you our thoughts on it. So Pejjy, what do you think in the short term? Do we even think short term stuff, or do you look more long term?
Well, I'm more of a long term, but we do take a look at short term stuff when we do the valuation. So I have here for Q2 total deliveries of over 453,000 vehicles. What is the market anticipating? Is it 450? Is it 445? Because I haven't seen any estimates on that yet.
You know what? I haven't seen the estimates yet, because usually it's the last 2 weeks of the quarter that analysts will change their estimates. I think right now it's around 450. If you guys happen to know the current estimates, please share. I usually don't check them until the end of the quarter anyway.
Yes, please. That'll help. But I have here, I mean, I would say anything over 450 is an extremely bullish side for Tesla.
Yeah.
That would mean that the operating margin, because they already increased some prices for some of the vehicles,
Yeah.
has been increased. So that means the operating margin has hit a bottom in Q1. So this will give a good run to Tesla if they do over 450, because economy of scale, all that good stuff,
There you go.
and obviously energy and all
448
that
expected,
goodies.
and Troy's at 443.
Okay, so just below 450. So yeah, I have here over 450. So if they can do that, that's a wonderful sign. That's an amazing sign. And I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this because this is one of the fundamentals of Tesla. So if they can do this, then I anticipate some sort of not like a Nvidia type of jump, but a 5-10% jump overnight kind of thing. Because then the bottom is done for Tesla pretty much, as we keep going throughout the year. So I would say we definitely have a pullback for sure. I don't have a crystal ball to tell you that, but um, all depends on Q2 releases. There's some people out there that say that Tesla went down from 400 to 100. There's no reason why it shouldn't go up to 300 in the next couple of months, and they have a point because
Yeah.
it varies and stuff. But I'm more of a fundamentalist. I'd look at the fundamentals of the company and see, what they're doing, how much of a multiple would be, all that goodies. And so if they do over 450 in terms of deliveries, then I think we're in for a good run, at least for a couple months until maybe something breaks or not. I don't know. But that's short term. Short term, I would say around I think the 260s is what my price target was, and we hit the price target. And I would say right now it's a fair value for Tesla between 260 to 280, around there. It's a fair value for Tesla. If everything is hitting all-time highs, and Tesla's not in it yet, I'm sure we have some room to run.
Yeah, and for me, and I haven't fully updated my valuation model, but I've got production at 457 and deliveries at 453. So looking at those numbers alone, again, I think anything over 450, and what I try to look at for deliveries is not so much based upon expectations, but are we growing quarter to quarter? That's really it.
Yes.
Are we increasing our deliveries and production every single quarter? That's all that matters. We're growing the company.
Yeah.
So I think like you said, anything over 450 or even around 450 is going to be a win. Even Troy at 443, still going to be a win. So we're all moving in the right direction. And again, like you said, they're going back up on prices, but they're constantly fluctuating these prices. And again, this happens with legacy auto. We just don't see it because only the dealerships see it. But now, because Tesla doesn't have them, we as consumers get to see that. But they're all over the place, moving the prices up and down just to kind of figure out what's happening. Like looking at charts, we filled the 262 gap. That was the one I wasn't sure if we were going to fill above us or if we hit 146 first. But like I said, I think it's going to come down to where do we hit for deliveries. And unfortunately, that will go based upon expectations because the market's going to be looking at expectations. Where did we land based upon that?
And to add to that, the macro environment for Tesla seems to have flipped. Have you realized that?
Yeah.
Everyone is like, I think it was because once GM, joined GM and Ford, when they joined the Supercharger network, that's where all the analysts are like, okay, hold on a minute, we got to take a look at this much better. Because if GM and Ford joins, it's inevitable, and now Stellantis is under talk. Other automakers. If that becomes a standard, they have to join.
Exactly, because what other company out there is Toyota going to come out and be like, oh no, we have our own charging network? Hell no. They're going to be like, we have our own hydrogen network. That's all they're going to do. But like you think about Honda, and even Honda's theoretically part of GM. So, if all of them are going to be doing that network, like you said, nobody's going to have enough money, and nor are they going to even want to come out with their own charging network. Like, why would you want to compete with that? And, I thought about it earlier today, thinking about the advertising. So we know Tesla is going to potentially be doing some advertising, but, GM and Ford and these legacy automotive makers, if they were not doing EVs, their advertising could be very easy and be like, you don't want to get an electric vehicle because we can bash all the reasons why you wouldn't want an electric vehicle, even if those reasons aren't true. And this is why you want to stay with gas. But you're never going to get those because all of these companies are also making EVs. So if they had a commercial like that, they'd basically be bashing themselves, and they're already at competition with themselves because they're undermining their own ICE business. So I mean, you're right. That fundamental piece for Tesla, what that charging network was so vitally important that a lot of people aren't really fully grasping that. Maybe it doesn't bring in a lot of revenue for Tesla, but just the fact that it's secured now for sure that EVs are going to be coming and everybody's going to be basically supporting Tesla to make it happen.
Yeah, that's and on top of that, we have just lost my train of thought. No problem. But no, on top. Oh, yeah. Now I got it back. On top of that, we have the Cybertruck coming. I mean, that is a huge catalyst. I mean,
yep.
I mean, they should be starting production soon. I don't know. Have they started production? I don't think they have. Not
no,
yet.
So they've been doing
I don't know how they're gonna.
Yeah, it's been just some small stuff, some beta production. However, I'm guessing because I always go by Elon's kind of subtle cues, and telling us how challenging it has been. I have a feeling we are going to see probably late Q3. We'll see the first ones rolling off, and it's going to be stupid slow to get going on it. They've already alluded to the fact that it's going to be end of 2024 that we're going to be seeing any sort of production increase for the Semi alone. I think the Cybertruck's going to be, to get to significant production, will be about the same time frame, end of 2024.
Yeah, it'll be a big bummer if they announce that. Yeah, we have to push back Cybertruck a little bit further. That'll bring the stock down a bit in the short term, at least. But there's a lot of good news coming out for Tesla at the moment, and I could see it going higher. But again,
and one of the things to look at too is look at the sentiment swings that we've had. When there's negative news, it just kind of snowballs into more and more negative news. We've been currently on a positive snowball right now. A lot of positive news coming in, snowballing into that, keeping that momentum driving upwards. Now, we all know full well a lot of that is from hedge funds coming out here intentionally driving that stuff, because there have been some negative things along the way, like we just said about the semi-truck, not coming to bigger production till the end of 2024. Had we been in the negative snowball type time frame, that would have been all over the headlines everywhere, completely bashing Tesla, bringing it down and sinking the stock price. So, at what point are they going to want to stop pulling the stock price up? And when are they going to start pulling it back down again? So, going back to the question of short-term stock prices, we filled that 262 gap. Well, I'm expecting to cool off. The RSI is hot right now, but even on the weekly basis, we're not overbought. Monthly, we're right in the middle. So maybe we push up to that 313 level again and test that, because that's where we got stuck previously. So maybe that's where we end up pushing to before we end up getting the pullback and cleaning things out near the bottom. That's just my
near
take.
The bottom. Oh, geez.
When I say the bottom, at this point right now, I see that 114 gap. I think we're going to fill that. So we might touch 110 again. But then once we hit that level at that point, I think that's going to be the last time. And then we go up from there.
Yeah. I know. Honestly, in the short term, it's anybody's guess. No, I mean, it's hard to time the flipping market. It really is. That's why dollar cost average is the best thing to do. And hold on till 2030 and beyond, man. That's it.
Yeah. And seriously, that's what it is. You look at like the Warren Buffett style of investing. He just invests. He basically did the long-term dollar cost average over time. That's how we got wealthy. That's, I mean, as simple as it can be, because everybody I've spoken to, anybody who has been holding, good solid companies for a long period of time, think about anybody who's had Tesla since 2012, these fluctuations mean nothing to them because they're so in the positive. It doesn't matter whether you swing from 300 to 100, you're still green. So same exact thesis is the longer you hold, the easier it is to hold for a longer period of time because you're so far into the green, and all you're going to see is your portfolio come down, but you're still going to be in the green. And you just understand that
the massive margin. So and if we look at Tesla's chart or just valuation, how it performs, it jumps. Yeah, it's like an overnight jump kind of thing. That's what Tesla does, and that's because the market realizes, or the institution realizes that now they can actually do electric vehicles now, and now they're profitable. Wow. Oh, the Model 3, they're not gonna go bankrupt. Wow. So it's all these jumps that the Tesla does.
Oh yeah,
because of the institutional, and the next jump is going to be the FSD. I'm putting it out there right now. So
FSD. Black Jacket, thank you. Two of my favorite guys in the business. Thank you, Black Jacket. Appreciate that.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, and looking at what we have, so we've got FSD, Cybertruck, of course, and then the next gen platform, which we still have no official announcement on it. We're all just guessing that it's going to be the sub $30,000 vehicle. But then you think about sub $30,000 vehicle, if the Model 3 is currently under 40,000, but can be purchased based upon credits for 25,000. And then as of the first of the next year, that should be coming off at the time of purchase based upon what we know right now. Now it's not just a credit that you have to wait for. Now you're actually getting that vehicle for $25,000. So when you're looking at a vehicle coming out of Mexico that could be starting at $30,000 with credits, you could be getting this vehicle for $20,000. I mean,
that's insane. That's gonna break the industry.
that there. So when we start talking about price parity, currently based upon average selling price, Tesla's already there. But realistically, there are still some vehicles that you can go out and purchase off of a lot for $20,000 to $25,000. Used cars significantly less than EVs at the moment. So that's where that next gen platform is going to break that, and that is the biggest sweet spot. And once Tesla cracks that, it's game over.
Yeah, that's it. So I wanted to ask you, Oracle, did you end up getting the Model Y yet, or no? Or are you planning to pull it off a bit more?
I still have it, and I was actually testing it because I was waiting, because I'm still waiting for this housing market to come down. I'm like looking, I was like, I still don't need a car, and it's going to be a $600 to $700 a month payment, which I could be putting into Tesla stock. So I haven't gotten it yet. It's still on hold. I was talking to Karav and discussing, the different options, because he and his family got theirs.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, I looked at mine, and with the tax credits, mine would realistically be more like 38,000. So I'm like, it's not terrible, but I can get a Model 3. It's like, do I go for a Model 3 rear-wheel drive? But I want to have all-wheel drive. So I've got a few options I'm playing with right now. Plus, looking at the timing of the housing market, what I think is going to happen, which could totally be wrong. But if I wait till next year and I get my house, then at that point, if the interest rates continue to go up, who knows where the price of the vehicles are going to be. And then if I can get the money back at the time of the purchase and actually take a Model Y off of the lot for $38,000 versus $52,000, and then having to wait for credits, I might go that route. So lots of options. Yeah. But haven't taken it yet.
Yeah, I would personally get the house first, and then think of the car.
Yeah, and that's what I would do. Because if I get the house that I want to get, that house can provide income for me to then pay for the vehicle. Versus if I get the vehicle first, then that's taking income away from me to be able to purchase the house to make more money.
Yeah, exactly. No, I do the house first. I 100% do the house, because, I mean, I don't know. I have a belief that renting, it's not a waste, but that could go towards equity. That's just my
exactly. That was my whole thing. I never wanted to rent, because I'm like, I could be putting that money into my own equity versus somebody else's. Unfortunately, the situation I'm in, I had no choice. But that's where I've gotten myself to now. Is that makes the most sense? Like, why am I going to put my money into somebody else's equity instead of my own?
Yeah, exactly. And I was telling my brother, once we come back to Toronto, sell the Mitsubishi that we have and just get like a Tesla. So, and he's just like, we looked at the Model 3 and the Model Y, and honestly, in Canada, they're almost the same price. And I'm just like, why would I get a Model 3? Let's get a Model Y. Same price. It was ridiculous how it was so equal. So we're looking into that to see if we could get a Tesla, but then we don't know how, because it's going to be in the garage for 8 months of the time, and there's nobody there. So what's going to happen with the battery? Is it gonna, so we don't know.
Pejjy, that's where FSD comes in. Then you use it as a robo-taxi while you're not around, and it's going to make you money.
Yeah. Let that, because right now, let's wait 3 years, 4 years until that gets approved. Because in Canada we don't have FSD beta yet.
Right.
It's just the one right before it, the Autopilot, that I think is like a $5,000 one. That's the one that we have.
And who knows when you guys are going to actually regulate it either. So
Yeah, that's true.
Sith Lord, please explain PMI, which is better, high or low. Now, PMI, you're talking about mortgage insurance. If that's the one you're talking about, 0 is the best, because 0 means that you have at least 20% equity in that home. So then you're not going to be paying any mortgage insurance. And they're all different depending on which plan you go with. But not having any is even better, because that's, again, more money that you're putting into somebody else's equity versus your own. That is you basically, and it's the stupidest thing that banks do, but it's a huge scam. It's, hey, because we don't feel that you have enough money to pay us back, we're going to charge you more money. Like, what horseshit is that? Like, seriously, that's like, that's when banks charge you for these overdraft fees. Hey, yeah, we understand that you only have $2 in your bank account, so we're going to charge you $30 because fuck you. Like, seriously, like, I just don't get it, But that's exactly what it is. So lower is better, if that's what you were talking about. So yeah, lower is definitely better, because that means you have more equity. Yeah, here's another Marty. Hyundai announcing NACS will push stock higher. Hyundai's a big one, because Hyundai is just one of those. They're quietly out there with EVs. People are buying them.
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right, Marty. If Hyundai announces it too, that'd be big. And not only that, but think about it this way: if GM and Ford, who are obviously big UAW, huge connections with the current government that we have at the moment, if both of those are going to go in with Tesla, it's stupid that the government is still saying that they need to have, the old charging availability. That should be on the vehicle producers versus the charging stations, considering that's old technology that's going to be obsolete and not even produced anymore. So it's useless. But if the government is going to be pushing for all of this as well, that means that you can almost guarantee, like we've seen these other charging stations, like the Blinks and them, their stocks all fell this past week when they saw that. So I have no doubt they're already working on it, and they're probably going to have the standard as well. So you'll probably end up seeing, when you start hearing like Blink charging is like, hey, we now have NACS also, then you know that the entire North America is sticking with that, and Tesla's going to dominate.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point, it's inevitable that Hyundai is gonna one day, sooner or later, announce it. They don't have any infrastructure to do that. They don't have. I don't think they're even working on it. So like, they kind of have no choice.
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, and like I said, what are these other companies going to do? Be like, really push it? It's like Samsung and Apple. Are they going to come out and say, if GM and Ford got together with the UAW and said, hey, we're going to do it our way, Tesla said we're going to do it their way, then you'd have the whole, Samsung and Apple type situation, the Android and Apple. But GM and Ford came on board. So now it's Apple convinced Android to switch over to the Lightning charger, and that's where they're at. And, that's what we're going to be seeing with EVs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Black Jacket, I'm hearing 1,000 by the end of the year without FSD. Cheer up, ladies. So here's my thing on that. This is exactly what we heard at the end of 2021. And at the end of 2021, we're running up like crazy. We had the Hertz news right before Elon sold, and we're like, we're going forever. And the only reason the stock is coming down is because Elon's selling. And as soon as he's done selling, we're going back to $2,000. Nobody anticipated what was happening in the macro environment in that sphere. And everybody who is so engulfed in just the Tesla sphere just saw Tesla, and we should be going to this price. And unfortunately, the macro environment is stronger than Tesla, and you have to admit it. So that's what happened. So us getting to 1,000 by the end of the year, not going to happen.
So hold on,
I would love for it to happen, but I cannot foresee it getting to 1,000 by the end of the year.
Let me ask you this, Oracle. So what do you think end year Tesla stock is going to be, end of 2023? And what do you think the stock price would be by 2030?
Currently, I have end of this year at $247. Now, the timing of that is all strictly based upon where we're at in the macro environment. So, basically the price we're at right now, 247, 260. And I think we could go up from here and then be pulling down to that level. So it might be on its downswing at that point. But again, now we're pushing a 6-month time frame, which is even more difficult to predict, just in the timing of it. But I think in the mid 200s is probably reasonable for end of this year. 2030, I think we're going to be at least $2,200.
22.
So that's where
Okay.
I'm at, and think that's like a 10x from now until then is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's over almost, yeah, over a 7 trillion market cap.
Yep.
Sheesh.
Yeah. And I figured that was reasonable because at that point we'll be out of this economy. We'll be in a more of a steady up growth where we should be. And and when Elon was talking about, Tesla being more valuable than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined, thinking about what the charging network itself is basically going to becoming the new gas stations. So Tesla's going to have that. And at that point, Optimus will probably be starting to, like, we can see more realistically what Optimus is going to be doing for the world. And energy at that point will be taking off. So yeah, I think a 7 trillion market cap at that point is probably realistic. At least in my view. And I know some people think I'm too bullish, some people I'm too bearish. So that means I'm in the middle and I'll take it.
I got mine. If you include full self-driving has been solved and it's been implemented globally, the countries that have been regulated and approved, but excluding robotaxi and excluding bots, I have it here at like, let me pull it up, like 2,800, almost
Okay.
3,000 pretty much.
Okay. Yeah.
So
and again, what Tesla has going for them over the long term, this is the way I look at it. Worst case scenario, Tesla doesn't solve FSD. Tesla doesn't get the Optimus bot up and running. Tesla's valuation at that point could be $1,200. That's probably like a bear case scenario is $1,200. That's still a 5 to 6x from where we are right now. So I don't know about you guys, but I'd still be happy with a worst case scenario return. So then you look at all the different things that they could possibly have. How big is energy going to get? Thinking about the third world countries that are out there that Tesla or that Elon and SpaceX are hitting with Starlink. We got the Brazils. We got all these different countries out there right now that Tesla getting into with energy is going to really change their whole entire lifestyle altogether. So that's energy is going to be huge going into the future. We have all sorts of huge countries like the US that has an old, outdated infrastructure for electric. So the energy is going to really take off. If you have energy take off, if you have FSD get solved, and like Pejjy said, regulated, all over the world, who knows what the stock price could be at in 2030? And hell, if they get Optimus up and running before then, game on. Maybe we hit 5,000. Who knows? It's just mind-boggling, and that's why when we're looking at it long term, I think it's a win-win scenario either way. I think Tesla's going to be giving us a very, very good return on our investment over the long term. So near term, whatever. If we get a pullback, I'll just buy a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. I've stopped buying Tesla stock. I just need to rest up. I've just been depleted with cash for the past 9-10 months. I've just been buying this massive dip. Now that I'm like in the plus and I have plenty of shares, I'm just like, let's just relax for a little bit. Let's just, accumulate some cash.
Yes, and that's where I'm at too. I actually, because of where we're at in the stock price, I just changed mine. I was putting in $20 a day. I'm now putting $15 a day just because we're still on this run. And so what I'm going to do is, pulling under 250, I'll push that back up to 20. If we go up under 200, I'll go back up to 20. Under 150, I'll make it 25. And I'll just keep on bumping it up from there. And this is the way I can deplete my cash over time. But I'll just still pay attention to those near-term movements. Because if I think, hey, maybe we really did hit the bottom maybe we fill the 146 gap and that's the bottom. Cool. I'll dump in heavier at that point. But again, I'll just pay attention to how the stock is moving at that point. But long term, either way, I think it's going to be fine. It's just my way of trying to accumulate as many shares as I can now.
Yeah, like it's different with Tesla stock. With other stocks, when I buy, obviously I do a lot of research on them and I make sure that I can sleep at night when I buy them. But then Tesla is different. I'm willing to bet everything on it and still have a nice, beautiful, wonderful sleep. It's just a different breed,
Yeah. and as my dad was talking, because my dad does a lot more swing trading, and so as he was discussing with me the other day, he likes to swing trade in the good stocks. So Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, these stocks here, like a Tesla. Tesla's still more volatile for him, but it's one of those. If you have a good long-term thesis on a stock and you think it's going to do well, and you want to swing trade it, even if you miss, like you're like, hey, I bought it here because I think it's a good level, and then it pulls back. You just need to wait longer. It's not like you're getting into one of these more risky stocks that, hey, maybe it's not going to ever recover. Maybe it just bombs out and it's done and I've lost my money. You go into these better stocks, there's a good chance that, hey, if you're going to swing trade it and you missed your opportunity, just wait longer. You'll get another opportunity.
Yeah. And even if you bought high and now it's low, if you just wait long enough, you'll be in the plus again.
Yeah, of course. Or if you want to spend more money in dollar cost average and bring that down, do it that way too. And like NVIDIA here, NVIDIA AI moment is pulling as Tesla, some analyst. Yeah, NVIDIA is wild. So right now, people are talking about what I was talking about before, which is a little bit of an AI bubble. Nothing wrong with it, all this excitement, but it's very much like we saw with EVs or the internet, things like that, the dot-com bubble. But Tesla people see it. And the difference between Tesla, AI, and AI that we're seeing like ChatGPT and all of that, ChatGPT is more of the, hey, I'm on the computer and AI is doing the thinking on the computer for me, thinking up thoughts. Tesla's working on something that is going to be more humanoid robot, realistic, like actual functionality in the real world versus the internet AI. And that's where a lot of people are missing it with Tesla, is they're not really fully grasping where Tesla's AI sits at the moment. So how do you feel about that, Pejjy?
Well, yeah, definitely Tesla's AI is well, look, NVIDIA's AI is more towards chips. But Tesla AI is more towards like, commuting, transportation. And that's huge. If you can change the whole transportation network and, for companies that they don't need truck drivers anymore or limited truck drivers. And when you drive to places, you don't have to drive anymore. That puts a lot of value to everybody's life because you get to save time. You have no idea. Every time when I'm driving to work, man, I would love to do like 5, 10 different things. I don't want to drive sometimes. Sometimes I love driving, it's fun, but not every day, same thing, going to work, same route. Man, I want to do something else.
Yeah.
So if you can give that time back to people through AI, through Tesla's AI, then that's going to give immense value, not just to the stock, to everybody. Now, that's just the FSD. You want to put that onto a bot, which again, I can't comprehend what the bot can do because I just can't imagine it. The only thing I can imagine is the iRobot. The guy's cleaning your dishes, cooking food for you, cleaning your car, doing all those things. But in terms of how it's going to actually be in person, I can't imagine.
The only thing I picture right now, and like I'm not even taking it to the iRobot state, is, let's compare it with the semi. So if we've got the semi, and like you said, hey, truck drivers, we no longer need to hire a truck driver. We can have trucks on the road. Now these truck drivers are limited by hours. They can only drive for a certain number of hours, then they have to take a break. If you have FSD driving it, the only thing the truck needs to stop for is to charge its batteries. Drives on its own. Awesome. Now you've just saved companies a ton of money when it comes to trucking and transport, which is a massive expense for all of them. You now take that same technology, put it into a robot. You put that robot into your factories, you're going to do the same exact thing. You're just replacing that human with something that's going to be so much more cost effective. And again, so many people get upset about losing jobs. It's more about creating different jobs versus losing those. And so now you've got one robot that you can say, hey, it cost me $25,000 for this robot to come in, and it's going to be able to work 3 shifts in a row. So that's replacing 3 shift workers, and you don't have to pay it annual salaries. You don't have to pay it time off. You don't have to worry about it taking vacation or having a bad day or whatever it is. You're going to get the same production out of these robots every single day for a much cheaper price. And that, to me, is the biggest impact we will see initially before we end up seeing it go into homes and things like that. We'll see it in factories making a massive impact in the economy.
Yeah, definitely. Like I could definitely see something like that happening in like Walmart or I think Amazon's working on their own robots, if I'm not mistaken. They have something going on in their warehouses. But in a Tesla factory, yeah, maybe like doing the cars and all that kind of stuff. But I still can't comprehend. I have to see it. Full self-driving cars, 100%, I can see it, definitely. But bots, I think we just got to wait I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years to see how they're going to do it, what the procedure is going to be, or what the first jobs, tasks are going to be. The progress is doing well based on the videos that we've seen and what they've done. The thing can walk on its own. It can do simple A to B tasks like move this, move there. That was really incredible to see. But again, just got to see how this is gonna. Hey, Bill used to work there. Oh, now Mr. Bot is working there.
Build the bot.
That's a little.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah.
Sandy Monroe had touched on that too, talking about back when cars first started coming out and replacing horse and buggy, and
Yes.
that whole entire thing transpired. People were out there doing everything they could to sabotage this from happening, but it's for the betterment of humanity moving forward. And even as Elon said, if you do it enough and replace enough jobs, eventually people won't need jobs. Then we have universal basic income coming in, and then you can live your life and do what you want to do versus having to do what you want to do just during the time that you're not working. Now you can do it all the time.
Yeah, and that will give more value to society. It'll be a give back in a way because
Right.
you
So
love what you're doing.
you can go play jazz trombone versus working in Kuwait all the time. So
Oh God, yeah, man. I'm traveling back home in end of next month, and God, it's so
soon.
hot here. It's ridiculous.
Soon. I mean, it's not cool here, but it's not desert hot. So yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's like it should be illegal how hot it is out there.
So when we're talking about the bots, do you think, now you're looking 5 to 6, 7 years out, do you think Tesla is going to be using any of these in some facet, even from a very small standpoint, maybe moving boxes from point A to point B in their Mexico factory?
That's a very good question. Well, the way how they are progressing this bot, it looks like if you give it another like a solid 4 or 5 years, maybe even sooner, you could probably see the first, I guess you could say, task given to one of the factories. I'm not too sure if it's going to be in Mexico or other factories. It's definitely going to be starting there. Like, okay, learn how to do this, just move this there, and then slowly, because it's an AI, it'll learn over time. Eventually, it'll learn how to adjust the door on Model Ys or the new models, or make the Cybertruck faster. It'll start there definitely, and I could definitely see that. But at a large scale, when it comes to your home, and then when you're going when you're going outside to pick up your newspaper, and you see like a whole bunch of robots around, that's gonna be a little weird. That's gonna be a weird day.
I think that's going to take some time too. I think for sure. I think
Yeah.
that would be sort of like cell phones in the 80s, so random, and they're so, I don't know. It'll take some time. I think when we start to see them in the wild, it'll probably take a decade or two for them to actually become more prevalent.
Yeah. That's what I think. So starting slow like that, I can see.
Yeah. All right. What happens when Tesla announces the next gigafactory very soon? So,
oh, the stock will hit all-time highs. No, I'm kidding.
So when do you think they're going to announce it, and where do you think it's going to be? Obviously, we know about Mexico.
Yeah. So in a recent interview with Elon, he said that with Wall Street Journal, he did mention that they're trying to push for another factory end of this year. But again, this is what Elon says. Elon's guess is always off.
Right.
So
we heard about that last year too. So
yeah, exactly. So maybe mid next year we can probably hear another one. I think they're planning to do one factory every single year, one announcement at least one single year. And location, I'm very bullish on Indonesia and India as well. A lot of people are saying South Korea and Thailand, which Thailand would be okay, but I think what Elon or Tesla is trying to do is that they're trying to de-risk themselves away from that whole Korean peninsula and Taiwan Strait because of all that. I mean, you got North Korea and China to worry about. Those guys,
right.
You know what's going on with those guys. So, and if anything happens, it's not only Shanghai that's going to be under siege or under a lot of pressure. If they have a factory in South Korea, that's going to be under pressure from North Korea. So really, that's a lot of strain on Tesla.
Yeah.
But Indonesia, it's far enough from it, and you got the whole Indian Ocean right next to you, so you won't have anybody to that stops in your way. It's kind of same thing with Thailand, even though they're more central in Asia. But I have my money in a geopolitical goal for Tesla. I think it would be Indonesia or even India. I think India will be very good as well.
Yeah. So, and India was always my first thought until, they didn't want to play ball. They were leaving their their taxes way too high. They wanted 100%,
Yeah,
and it's
ridiculous.
So I mean, at this point, and not only that, but for Tesla to go in there with their current lineup makes no sense because the vehicles that they sell there are very low price anyway, and they don't sell a lot of higher priced vehicles. However, if Tesla already knows that this compact car is coming and they think that they can hit a sweet spot in India with it, then it would make sense. So, we'll see how that plays out. But I
or
agree.
maybe the next. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm just saying that next factor could be in France, but don't tell Alexandra that. She's gonna get pissed.
Well, and that was the interesting thing too, was him now going in tour in Europe. And my thought process was always Berlin is still coming up and ramping. They don't have the same sales as a China or the US. So putting a factory in Europe now doesn't make as much sense as putting one in the Asia Pacific region, because Shanghai is already there and they can still ramp up a little bit more, but they've basically kind of mitigated and subdued some of the production there just because the demand globally isn't there. And not only that, but Berlin is taking a lot of the exports that are coming out of Shanghai. So Shanghai doesn't have to export as much, so they can do more domestic deliveries. So it would make more sense for them to do an Asia Pacific than a Europe. But talking with, all the different heads of state over in Europe that Elon was doing recently, obviously the fact that there's a lot of these countries vying for Tesla to be there is very, very bullish. That's a stupid high bullish sign right there. So if anyone's looking for fundamental bullish signals, there you go. Like you've got people who are like, I want to buy a Tesla, and countries are like, I want a Tesla here. I want Tesla factory in my country.
Yeah, you got South Korea coming out and saying it. You've got France kind of begging a little bit. Same thing with Italy. I think UK as well.
Looking at the way the Italian prime minister looked at Elon, who knows what else she was trying to do to get him over in Italy.
But another location would make sense for Tesla to be is literally in UAE, specifically in Dubai. It's honestly, they're very friendly in terms of business. You can have the name. You don't need to have a sponsor to have a business. So that's number one. You can own the land for 99 years, or you can even own it forever, depending who you are. And it's so business friendly. It's ridiculous how business friendly Dubai is. And yeah, it's expensive. It's an expensive city. Maybe labor will be a bit too high, but it's a great location. It can cover the whole Middle East. It can probably feed Africa as well. So it's a wonderful location.
And Elon's got some friends over there, so would not surprise me. So that's not a bad option either. And thinking about, I look at Italy, and there's a huge population collapse going on in Italy. So I can see why that they would want a factory there or something, to kind of spur that population back on again would be huge. Japan would be the same way. And I know what Warren Redlick's been pushing for Japan for a while. And we may see them in all of them. It's just a matter of what's coming first. So I have no doubt that we're going to see another factory in Europe, maybe two. We'll see one probably in the UAE or Middle East. We've got a lot of work to do, and who knows what else we're going to do. Maybe it's something to do with energy. Maybe it's something to do with Optimus, the robots in the future. This has got a lot of stuff going on.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a gigafactory that makes cars. It can just be a battery plant, or it could be a storage plant, or it doesn't have to be a gigafactory. I think these massive gigafactories have to be places where it has strategic importance. So if shit hits the fan, it shouldn't be affected. So it shouldn't. Again, it doesn't make sense to have another gigafactory next door to Germany, to France. I mean,
right, exactly. Okay. And not only that, but like you said, when it comes down to the logistics, Tesla can be like, all right, well, we have a factory in Berlin. Maybe we're going to put a factory in Spain. Now we're going to be right on the coast. We can ship wherever we need to. And what are we looking at for Italy and France? Maybe, like you said, battery factories. How can we get the logistics even closer? Now, instead of shipping batteries from Shanghai over to Berlin, now we've got them right here in Europe. We've got everything we need right here. Now we've just simplified our supply chain even better. So you're right. There's so many options that Tesla has for stuff in the future.
Yeah. And it's crazy how we don't know, but everybody wants Tesla to be in their country, like you mentioned, and nobody else. It's funny. It's just funny.
There you go. Pejjy, any thoughts on TSLY? Do you dabble in that?
Oh man, I mean, you know what's funny? Just yesterday, my buddies and I in a group, they're just like, look into TSLY, and it's like a covered calls kind of thing. And I'm just like, man, I don't know, man. I'm just like, I'm not too educated on it. I'm not too sure. I know it's covered calls like 1.5%. What do they do? Like, can you explain? Maybe you can enlighten me on it.
Yeah, so it's just options. It's an options ETF based on Tesla, and so it's very much. I have a couple of other ETFs very much like that, like a QYLD or a JEPQ, where they're playing options, and all of the premiums that they get and money that they make, they distribute all of that to all of the shareholders. And when it comes to TSLY, it's just a Tesla specific version of it. Their returns on dividends are disgusting. Like they just paid out 59% dividend returns this past month. Yes. The month before that was 44%, and that was the lowest month so far. Now, they just started. Now, my thoughts on this are how long can they make this go? You know, we've been running for the first half of the year. Basically, that's all that they have had for paying out. What happens if we do end up getting a massive pullback? Are they still going to be able to pay this out? Now, looking at it like from a QYLD standpoint, I had some of it on the way up and I've been having it on the way down. So I was basically holding it through 2022 when it was just burning out. But when it's pulling down, you can just accumulate more and more shares and you're still going to get that payout. Then it turns around and you can actually start to make money on it as well. So like my cost basis right now is $14 on it and it's worth just over right at 16. Plus I've gotten all the dividends from it.
Nice.
So
hold on. Let me ask a question then. So like 60% dividends. I mean, it sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? I mean, exactly. What happens? Like, what's the risk? Like, I'm trying to figure out what the risks is here.
That's what I'm still looking into. I just
trying to find out.
I haven't fully I've been looking to see what the downside is. I mean, it does swing more. So the downside is if the stock pulls down, it could swing a lot more than Tesla does. So the dividend payout could be less than what your overall value is. So I've got a spreadsheet made up that will show me the difference. So like, hey, if my cost basis is $14, but the thing crashes to $6, all the dividends that it's paid out, I have lost entirely in the actual value of the stock itself. That's probably the biggest downside risk.
I mean, that's not too much of a risk. I mean, if you're bullish on Tesla anyways, you might as well just keep holding.
Yeah. Then I don't know. I mean, I don't know if at some point, because we're on a run like we are right now, if we go into a massive pullback, will they go defunct because they can't make the call options? That's another downside risk as well. And then all of a sudden, then, you know, whether you think it's going to recover or not, it doesn't matter because it's gone. And especially if you're doing like I do and I re-roll all of my dividends right back into it, then it's just all that money that I've put in there is just gone and it's gone forever. So that could be the downside risk.
Yeah, that could be. But then the chances of that would mean Tesla stock would have to crash massively.
Right.
So,
and that's why I've only put a little bit of my portfolio into it. Not a ton, a little bit of my IRA, a little bit of my main portfolio to dabble in it. Still the majority, obviously, in Tesla itself. But I'm like, if I can get dividend returns like that, I'll take it. And my next thought is like, I'll roll it. And I almost want to be like, do I get to a point where I take it and then any of the dividends I get from that, I just put it right into Tesla stock itself and go that way?
Idea. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good idea to get it when we're in a bull market. I think that would be a good time to just start adding because it guaranteed, I mean, 50-60% dividends. That's crazy.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
So yeah, you're going to get your money back within a month or two.
Oh yeah. I've been having that discussion. I don't know if you know Gort, but he and I discussed that and TSLL. Now TSLL is highly leveraged. And so when he told me about it, I got in at 9.55, which was awesome. And it's now like $17. So it's like a 90% return I've gotten in a couple of months.
Sheesh.
But the downside on that one is it also moves just as much. So, you know, when Tesla comes down, it's going to move like 1.5 to 2 times as much as Tesla does. So you got to watch out for the swings there. But if you're looking to swing trade in like an IRA or an account that doesn't have taxes on it, that's a good play. You can make some good money on.
Yeah, one of my buddies does that, and he's very happy. So I'm just like, okay. Now I know a little bit more. Thank you, Oracle.
Alan, we already had a pullback in January. I've missed that tough tiddly poo. You know what? I had somebody else giving me crap in my comments about it as well, because I talk about, I think a pullback's coming. Just to be clear with everyone, I bought heavily between 100 and 120. Like, I unloaded a ton of money at those levels. But looking at the macro, I still think we are going to have another opportunity down there. But I don't know for sure, which is why I loaded the crap out of it back then.
Same. I went broke. I had no idea how to pay my next bills. It was hilarious.
Yeah. So that, yeah, and that's exactly what I did. So you know, I hedge on both sides, and I buy every single day. And so if we keep on running from here, I've still got my shares. I'm good. I'm not just sitting here waiting because I think it's going to happen. But I also do have a good chunk of cash on the sidelines. So if it does happen, I'm good to go. Let's see. Sunchi Adventures, can you explain how your car is on hold? So when you're ordering a Tesla, you've got your order, you've sitting here, and then it comes up to your delivery date, and Tesla will send you a text message, email. They're great with communication. Say, hey, your VIN number is now assigned. Your VIN is assigned to you. So you can go ahead and take delivery now, finish all the different paperwork if you haven't done it. Like if you're going to trade in your vehicle, if you need to do financing, all the different things. So that comes up. Now, if you don't end up doing those things, or you can literally text them back, like just send them a text, like you're talking to like your dude at the dealership. You just text them back and be like, hey, no, I'm not going to take it right now. They're like, all right, well, we'll hold it until this specific date for you. If you choose to not take it by then, we have to release it to someone else, and then we'll assign you another VIN when it becomes available. That's all they do. So what happened to me at the end of last year, because they were coming down all the prices and everything else was going on, they actually canceled my order. But they told me that they were going to, so I knew it was coming. This time around, because I'm at a higher price, because I think mine was $51,900 for mine, and because the prices have come down, they're just letting me kick this can down the road. Because if I ever do say I'm going to go with it, I'm going to end up paying a higher price, and they know that they're going to get more money out of me. So they're allowing me to hold it, but I'm sure at some point, if the prices end up going back up again, they're going to tell me that I have a specific date that I need to choose it by, or they're going to cancel it. But they're pretty open like that about it. It's pretty cool. And their communication is phenomenal. You know, just the fact that I can have these text messages, it's almost literally like I had a friend who worked at a dealership, and I'm asking them what's going on with my vehicle, and I could just text them and they could text me back. Same exact thing is going on with Tesla, except you don't know who that person is.
That's customer service right there.
Yeah. Yeah. House first. Yep. Pejjy, same thing. Yep. Going with a house first. You know, that's one of the things. I'm on a dating app, and this one of the girls on there was like, hey, what would you, if we won the lottery, what would you choose? Investment properties, big wedding, or vacations to spend your money on? I'm like, without hesitation, investment properties, because you can put that money into an investment properties, make all of that money back, and then you can go and spend that money on vacations and a wedding, or a life that you don't even need a vacation from. So obviously, anything that you can put your money into that is going to give you a return with more money, that has to be the first place you put it. Look, guys, I am all for FSD, but can Tesla please just fix phantom braking while in TACC and autopilot? I haven't heard as many issues about the phantom braking. Is that still really going on as much? I just haven't heard a lot about it recently, so I could be wrong. But I know that they're working on it. I did hear that there were some improvements before, so I thought that they had fixed it entirely. Obviously, if you're saying this, I'm guessing that is not the case. But yeah, that I don't know. I keep hearing a lot of people saying that they'll have FSD solved by the end of this year. I don't know, because I don't have it personally. But the way I look at it is, with FSD, you know, Tesla already has the safety scores that you get for anybody who's driving a vehicle. So theoretically, if you put your car into FSD, Tesla could be tracking that for its safety score. So what is FSD's safety score? I'm actually curious. I would want to know, because if Tesla's saying, hey, you know, we're just trying to get FSD to have a safety score that is higher than 85, because then at that point we know that it's better than the majority of human drivers that are on the road, you know, then Tesla can come out with the data and say, look, our FSD is safer than the majority of people on the road. It has a safety score itself of 85. This is where we want to go with it. That could help with regulations in the future as well.
Yeah, the problem is with that is that if they do it too early, I think customers who do get FSD on their vehicle, they would want to be able to trust the car fully. If they do it now, they would have to be able to, like, okay, I gotta hold it and gotta pay attention. So really, I think I guess that's what level 5 is.
Yeah.
So I would wait until they complete it until the level 5. So this way, when you and I get a Tesla, and then when we put it on FSD, we can just do something else without a second thought. We can just go like, okay, let's play Tetris, or let's watch a movie, or just go on YouTube. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. No,
That's
that
how I
makes
think
sense.
about
And I
it.
mean, obviously regulations aren't going to come until it is level 5.
Yes. Yes.
But as we said, what is solving FSD? It's truly a march of nines. You're never going to get to a point where, like, all right, we've solved it. It's just we've hit now a point where it's safer to have a self-driven vehicle on the road than it is to have humans on the road. And then we're just going to continue to evolve it from there and get better and better. And
Yeah.
and that to me is going to be where that tipping point is where are we going to be at that point where it's better?
Yeah, and we're getting closer to it. I'm thinking in the next 3 years or so, we should be able to have some sort of a big breakthrough.
Oh yeah. And like you and I said, 2025, that's the year. 2025 is going to be some sort of monster year. I am seeing it's going to be wild. Let's see. Elon's Whirlwind. Yeah, we were talking about that. The Megapack factory in Europe will be announced. That's actually not a bad idea. Megapack factory there, because they've got one in US, or two, and then they've got the one in Shanghai. So Europe actually would make the most sense, to have a footprint for there, especially considering the energy issues going on in Europe. That does make a lot of sense. I have no doubt there are a lot of energy talks going on during his discussions.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You heard? Blink and ChargePoint are in line for NACS. Good.
Hold on a second. We got to stop right here. Is that official? Blink and ChargePoint are in line to get the standard to go under the Tesla umbrella.
I mean, it makes sense. And whether they're actually going to go under Tesla's umbrella or just actually produce them themselves, that's fine, because at this point here, there's no way they're going to survive. Tesla has the best chargers, and they're going to have the chargers that the majority of the vehicles are going to be using. Blink and ChargePoint would go out of business. They have to do NACS or they're going to die.
Yeah. I wonder. No, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. I heard North Korea was campaigning for a factory. Think of the labor savings. If they produce that like they produce the rockets, I don't want anything to do with the Tesla coming out of North Korea.
Yeah, a bootleg version of a Model 3 or a Model Y. Could you imagine?
Oh man, that would be bad. What is the likelihood that Elon will split out its charging network as a separate company? No, won't do it.
No, that's too small of a business for him to do it. And why would they? It's under the Tesla brand.
Yeah, that makes no sense. If anything, for Tesla breaking out would be theoretically Optimus. If it's going to be as big as it is, that to me would be it. But even net, because it's still using the FSD structure, I doubt it. It's just like insurance. Charging for Tesla is going to be like insurance, but I think charging is going to bring in more revenue. But it's more about the customer satisfaction and customer experience when it comes to the charging and insurance than it is about bringing in money for them. And this is really making the customer experience better to ensure that the world is going to be changing over to renewable, sustainable energy. So yeah, that is what the charging network is more about.
Facts.
Let's see. Here we go. There is no negative news anymore when legacy ice makers is 7 years behind. I mean, yeah. And the fact that they're all just like, hey, Tesla, by the way, we're going to do what you're doing. And think about it this way. When it comes to the charging networks, that's just the first step. Everybody at the end of last year is beating up Elon. You bought Twitter. You're making all these tweets. You're pissing everybody off. And now look at him. Twitter's almost break even. And he had Mary Barra, of all people, hosting a Twitter space with Elon on it to announce a partnership with Tesla. Yeah. I mean,
it's crazy, how how the narrative has changed from now to since a year till now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And secretly, when all these like bad news was happening for Tesla, I was having the biggest smile on my face because I knew I knew we're
This
gonna
was
have
going to happen.
it's gonna go down. People are gonna say this is gonna be worth like 5 cents a share, and even though on the channel I kept saying that, guys, I mean, it's hard to see it go to the 60s. If it does, then we're looking at a 10 PE. You guys think for yourselves. You think a 10 PE makes sense?
Yeah.
So really, like, even with all these videos that I made telling the viewers that, listen, it just doesn't make sense for it to go down that low. It's like when the stock keeps going higher and higher to say, oh, we're gonna reach $1,000 by end of the week. It's the same thing when it keeps going lower and lower. And when it goes lower and lower, I just get excited. I'm just like, it's just getting stupid not to buy. Getting stupid not to buy. And then, as you said earlier, went literally all in. broke getting Tesla stock. Now we're just a bunch of happy YouTubers, I guess. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then you think about, like, we're going to go through these swings again. These swings happen all the time. But
I don't think we're going to go back to that swing again. That was just ridiculous. That was like bad news upon bad news. Like Tesla's going to go, like GM's going to take over. Like you had some weird news coming out. Like you had like 5 different articles coming out saying the new Tesla killers are here. And it's just like, come on, man.
Oh, I know. And now we can look at, if we get to a point where we get to the negative sentiment swing again, you know full well that GM and Ford are already on board for NACS. So that's happening. That's not going to go away. That's the first of partnerships. Why did Ford and GM decide to do this? Because they knew that they could not compete in that space. They knew that Tesla was already taking over everything with it. Blink and ChargePoint were not doing their jobs, what they needed to do. So they needed to be on the winning team. They chose that. What do you think is going to happen with FSD when Tesla's at the point where like, hey, you know what? We're at the point where we can now have regulators look at it. And Ford and GM are like, well, crap, we're not even close. And we know that if we don't do something about it, we're going to die. Guess who's going to start licensing FSD?
Yeah,
and
without
Tesla
a question.
And Elon's already got that door open. Now we have that open communication with Jim Farley and Mary Barra when it comes to just the charging side of things. Elon can say, hey, guys, I have no problems working with you guys on FSD as well. Come on over.
And once that announcement comes in, it's just going to be another jump. It's just going to be like,
it'll be just like this.
I'm predicting once FSD is fully solved, we'll see a massive jump in Tesla stock. The licensing thing would be like, I mean, even at that point, if it does a 2x, that's a big valuation jump.
Oh yeah,
the licensing business is such a much bigger business because now you have access to millions and millions of other vehicles that's not on the Tesla, and now you're going to put the software on that. You know how massive.
Well, yeah. Well, think about it this way: if Tesla is predicting and they want to get themselves to 20 million vehicles by 2030, and they're thinking at that point that's going to be 20% of the market. If Tesla only wants 20% of the market, that's still 80 million vehicles on the road that Tesla could be licensing FSD to. So
and then if the other 80% wants to in on that, or not even the 80%, just take 20-30% of that. That's massive.
Oh yeah,
that's absolutely massive. Like a monthly fee of $200, $300, $400, however much it'll be at that time. I think it'll be more for non-Tesla drivers, because it wouldn't make sense to charge the same amount, non-Tesla drivers as they would do for Tesla drivers on a monthly basis. It just won't be fair to them.
Then the question would be is if Tesla's going to be licensing out FSD to GM, is Tesla going to say, all right, well, we charge our customers $200 per vehicle for this? Then they can say, GM, we're going to charge you $200 per vehicle for yours. So if GM wants to make any profit on it, they're going to have to raise the prices, and maybe GM charges $250 or $300 per vehicle.
Yes.
Then people make the choice and say, do I want to spend the extra $50 to $100 a month, or just buy a Tesla and get it for less?
That's true. And that either way, I mean, if you can't get full self-driving solved with Cruise, with like 10,000 different cameras and a thing that flickers all the time, well, then you're screwed. You can have no choice. You you have to go ahead and get an FSD license from Tesla.
Right. Pejjy, thanks for being with Tim today. Great content, guys. Yes, thank you, Pejjy. Thank you
Happy
for
to be
hanging out with
here.
us today.
Yeah, for sure, man. Anytime.
Let me see. Go through a few more here. Let me see. Can you rank all Elon companies in order of biggest impact? Impact that they've made so far, or impact that they will make in the future?
Uh, I'll go first. I'll go first.
Yeah.
I think first on the list is definitely going to be SpaceX. I mean, when you have rockets landing on its own and you can bring the cost of it, I think it's 10 times less or 100 times less than what NASA does. That's huge,
Oh, yeah.
humongous. And then you got Starlink on the side. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Second, I would say is Tesla, for sure. Tesla. Third on the list here. What else? Yeah, he's got Neuralink.
I
He's
go with
got
Twitter.
Yeah, I totally forgot about Twitter. Yeah, Twitter for sure. Um, he's got no Boring Company is not his, is it?
Yeah,
Boring
Boring
Company.
Company and Neuralink. He's got the 5.
Yeah, yeah. I would say Boring Link. Yeah, I would say Neuralink and then Boring Company. If I'm not mistaken, any other companies? God, yes, too many.
Yeah, that's the same order I would put them in as well. And Neuralink and Boring Company are doing their own different things. I think Neuralink is going to have in the future a very big impact. Boring Company's impact isn't going to be, at least as from what I can see right now, as significant as the rest, but it will have an impact depending on where.
If SpaceX goes IPO, would you invest in it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm waiting for
100%, no
Starlink.
question asked.
So we were talking about it the other day because Elon has been saying how he wants to take care of Tesla shareholders when it comes to Starlink and SpaceX for when it IPOs. So I'm like, well, how is he going to take care of us as Tesla investors? My only thought would be is if he allowed Tesla investors, whoever's had the stock since X date would be allowed to buy at pre-IPO prices. So if that was the case for Starlink, I'm all over that. Absolutely. I want Starlink and I want SpaceX.
Why are they different businesses? Aren't they under? Isn't Starlink under the SpaceX umbrella?
Yes, Starlink is currently under the SpaceX umbrella, but it makes sense for them right now. Elon has always said that he prefers to run companies privately just because it's easier. They don't have to deal with shareholders and other decisions, so they can make the decisions that they want as the board. But you can typically get better funding for your stuff on a publicly traded company. So for him, he doesn't want the public voice to be able to dictate what's going on with SpaceX, but he's okay with it for Starlink and thinks that it would actually do better for Starlink if they had more money coming in as a publicly traded company. So
okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense as to why they would be breaking it out.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, either way, I mean, Starlink is such a fantastic business model.
Oh yeah, that's, I mean, and like you said, and I think, I mean, the two pieces of SpaceX, like you said, for the impact, landing rockets on their own, potentially going to be taking us to Mars. And then Starlink, thinking about the information and technology it's bringing to countries that don't have access to information. That's massive.
You can be in middle of Antarctica, not have food, but have internet.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. How to make a snowball.
God. That's insane.
If Tesla bot can flip burgers and make coffee, demand would be unlimited. Oh my God, it would. Like, and think about myself. Like, I am so busy all the time, and I try to picture Elon, and I actually would want to just ask him, like, does he have people who just make him food for him because he's constantly on the go? Because I think about myself, I'm like, I have to do my meal prep, so I did my cooking this morning, make sure that's all good to go. I take my food with me. If I don't have it with me, I've got to make sure I'm taking care of food. I don't have somebody just bring me food, and I don't have billions of dollars to just go and buy food wherever I can. So when you're as busy as you are, if you have like a robot or somebody, people are in relationships with other people, they have a teamwork. So they have somebody else out there, but somebody who's single and on their own, it's not easy, especially like single parents out there of 1, 2, 3, multiple kids. It becomes even more challenging. So just to have that extra set of hands to get basic stuff done like that is huge. And yeah, the demand would be unreal as long as it's at an affordable level that everybody could get. That would be huge.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
Let's see. Swing through some more comments here. I think Indonesia could be home to a semi-factory. Asian market could easily support 250,000 in sales and de-risks the China factor. So I'm wondering about the semi coming out of there, though, because would they actually be using the semi in Indonesia? I would see the semi factory coming to Shanghai, because China obviously would be using it, but I don't know. What do you think about it going to Indonesia?
I'm not too sure if they're. Well, I mean, transportation everywhere is big, but it's much bigger in China. It would make more sense to have the compact car made there, just like how they would have it in Mexico. But semi, I would be places where, because it's in low volume. I mean, the semi will be in low volume compared to the compact car. Um, maybe you can add it in the same factory of the compact car just to make limited to feed domestic. But then I don't know. I would favor more the compact car in Indonesia. That's cheaper. That can sell domestically easily. That can be shipped to other places easily, and is in high volume.
Yeah, that's my thought too. Is just, where is the semi going to be utilized more? Like, why would you have a vehicle produced in a country that's not going to be using it as much, where you wouldn't have as many domestic sales? That's just my thought on it.
Yeah.
Gerald, if Tesla splits out portions of its existing business to create new publicly traded corporations, would Tesla shareholders receive stock in the new corporations? Yeah, that's typically how it works when they break out. Like, again, I don't think it's going to happen. But typically when a company breaks like that, you would get a piece of whatever that new company is as a shareholder.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen either. It's just everything is all linked to the Tesla brand.
Is TSLY good or bad for Tesla? Actually, that's a great question. I think TSLY and TSLL are probably, I would say both. The reason we saw a huge crash at the end of last year, more so than what we normally would have, is because so many people were so far into margin and highly leveraged in Tesla itself. And so when people started getting margin called, that's what ended up happening. So you look at TSLY and TSLL on that standpoint, if we fall massively, anything with high leverage has a very good chance of being just magnifying the pain that we feel in Tesla even more. So going up, it's going to be good. Coming down, it's going to be bad. So look at it from your own standpoint, however you want to play it. But holding Tesla stock itself long term, once you get really far down the road, neither of them are going to matter. But right now, I think that's just basically how it would swing it.
Yeah, I just got educated by TSLY through Oracle. So, yeah.
Let me see. Oh, yeah, Cybertruck is in New Zealand. It's doing its winter testing down there.
Okay. Just wondering when production will start.
Did you see the one at the In-N-Out Burger camouflaged?
Yeah, I seen that. What's going on with that? Like, are they just testing it or
that was just the engineers?
The
engineers are just taking it out and decided to go through In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, like, why not?
Talk about turning heads, though. I'll tell you.
I mean, this could be a low-key advertisement tool.
Oh, absolutely. I have no doubt.
So what is that? It's like, oh, that's a Tesla Cybertruck. It's like, oh, they're on the road now. Let me go check out the website. Let's see what's happening.
Oh yeah,
bring more exposure.
Absolutely. Q2 deliveries, we were talking about that before. So around 450 to 455, depending on where you're at.
Yeah. At the moment, I'm saying 400 over, just a little bit over 453.
I see. You can override phantom braking by hitting the accelerator. Yes, Marty, you're funny. Oh man. Isn't FSD in a way working best in certain cities where a lot of Tesla cars are driving a lot? Yes. So like California, it's doing better over there. The more data they're getting in from specific areas, the better they're doing. Like Omar running a whole lot where he's running. There's more over there. So the more prevalent they are in certain areas, the better. So, and again, it's not that it's taking in these certain surroundings, but it's learning more about that specific region. So like that's why you can't just take what Tesla has now and dump it into Europe immediately, because Europe has different sized roads, different obstacles, different things different road signs that they need to plug into the database as well. So there's a lot of different things that they need to factor in.
Yeah. And like, I gotta throw it out there. I don't think FSD will ever come to Kuwait. The roads, there is no roads. The lanes doesn't exist.
Well, so now I had seen, and this was last year, so it was before version 11. And like somebody was asking, how does it drive? How does it handle dirt roads? And my buddy was like, yeah, I was driving down a dirt road in the Midwest. He's like, and it saw the dirt road and drove it perfectly fine, no problems. So
Yeah, but the thing that the infrastructure here, how Kuwait makes the roads and stuff like that, it's nothing. They don't make something that will last forever. I just don't understand the mentality. It's just like, for example, I'm on one of the highways here. I'm driving, and the lanes are there. They're nice. Okay, like the lanes are not even lanes. They're like bumps. They're little tiny bumps. So if you
yeah.
go on them with your tires, it makes that noise. So you're on the lane. You have to center yourself.
Iceland was the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same thing across the entire, like everywhere. Like all the roads here are like that. But then sometimes when they're doing construction, obviously they have to take that off. But then that one patch, that one certain patch that take it off, there's no lanes. So once, like if you're on the road that has the lanes, and then you enter the road where it doesn't have the lanes, entering back the road, you're in a whole different lane. It's just ridiculous. It's just like, man, why can't you just like inline it? Like, just now all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of cars who are like driving in the middle, and like they're driving in the emergency lane. It's just ridiculous. And it's like this throughout, well, not throughout the whole place, but throughout like majority of the I would say like the populated area. So it's just ridiculous.
So, I mean, how was it like when you first got there to learn how to drive? Because that must have been very disheartening to try and figure out.
Well, no, I mean, the thing driving, you gotta make sure that nobody hits you. Not that you would hit somebody, because I obviously driving in the US or Canada, it's like driving. Honestly, after seeing how people drive here and then going back home in Toronto, people drive like heaven there. People complain how people drive. I'm like, no, man, this is heaven. You have no idea how people drive back in Kuwait, man. Yeah.
Well, it's like one of my coworkers moved to Israel, and he said over there, like nobody uses blinkers. Everybody just drives, weaves in and
Yeah.
out. He goes, but that's just the
how
way
it
they
is.
drive. So it's not like anybody's mad that you're cutting them off. That's just how they drive. So
Yeah,
now I'm trying to picture FSD going over there and dealing with that.
that's what I mean. It's difficult. I don't know
Yeah.
how they're gonna do it. Like, okay, read the sign. Well, the color of the sign is done because the sun beamed it to hell. And then, like, how is it gonna read the sign? What lane is it gonna say? Like, where's the lanes? It can't read the lanes. How? I mean, half the roads are not even roads. So, like, how are you gonna have FSD? And the potholes here are just ridiculous. They can break tire. I don't know. It's
So now another question I had too, because I remember you posted the picture of the sandstorm you guys were dealing with over there. So how do sandstorms cover the roads and stuff over there?
Oh man, it's difficult, man. Well, thankfully, that picture that I posted was actually from last year, not from this year.
Okay.
So far this year, we haven't had any major sandstorms, but sandstorms, it's like those movies where you see those like massive cloud of sand coming. It's
Yeah.
exactly like that. Like I witnessed it. I witnessed it last year, where it's like it's clear as day, and the sky is blue, which is rare here. And then all of a sudden, you look to your left, you see this massive dust cloud coming. It's just like, oh my gosh, you get inside. I don't want to be in the middle of that. And then
Okay.
as soon as it hits you, that's it. It turns red. It turns orange. Good luck driving.
So and I would imagine like here with snow, and you from Toronto, so you would know. So the snow comes down, you can't
Yeah.
even see where the roads are. So the only thing you can go by
Yes.
is some signage. So I would imagine
Yeah.
it's the same there, right? Do they have like vehicles that come to clear the roads, sand off the roads?
Well, it's not to that point.
Okay.
It's not like Toronto where the snow keeps piling up.
Yeah, yeah.
Here, it's just sand. It just covers the sand a little bit and then goes. But we do have massive flooding here when it rains, because
Oh, okay.
there's not a proper sewage system here. When
Gotcha.
it rains for a couple of days, and it rains like meters. I remember last year it rained, and I was like driving, and I could see the water like literally up to my windshield, and I'm just like, this is a river. People pull out their jet skis and boats going places. It was ridiculous.
Like I said, you guys don't get a lot of rain, so it's just like, when you go down to South Carolina and they get an inch of snow, they don't have the proper vehicles and tools to remove it. So everybody loses their minds.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I mean, these are um, weather conditions that come and go. Something that stays forever, like how they make the roads. And
Right.
for Tesla, for FSD to read it, it has to be as a decent road or a decent um, pavement with no potholes or uneven bumps for it to function properly. And you have to have a society where people can respect the road, can respect the signage, can respect coming in front of you without blinking, right? So here it doesn't have that thing. In Dubai, it does. Dubai people drive very nicely, respectfully. Obviously, not as nice as the West, but I mean, they have some sort of laws there and lane there that you can depend on. So I see no doubt full self driving going there soon. But countries like Kuwait and third world countries that don't respect the road and they just want to just clock 200 and a 60 zone.
And
I have no
honestly,
idea how that's going to solve.
And honestly, I think that's going to be the biggest challenge that anybody who's coming out with FSD is going to face is the transition going from, humans on the road to FSD and all autonomy on the road is humans driving with fully autonomous vehicles. That is going to be the whole thing because, a fully autonomous vehicle can easily predict what another fully autonomous vehicle is going to do. They'll have the interworking connection and communication to know what's going on. I can even envision, this is decades and decades down the road. We won't even need streetlights anymore because every vehicle is going to know what every other vehicle is doing, what speed they're going, where they're traveling to. So they can just bob and weave all they want. It's not going to matter because they're going to get you from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And heck, they could be doing 200 miles an hour because it's safer than a human driver and you don't have the unknowns of a human reacting in a different way. But until we get to that point, trying to have a fully autonomous vehicle who is this is the direction I need to go. These are things I need to watch out for. And then a human who is like, oh, I'm now going to grab my phone and swerve unexpectedly. That is something that is going to be a very difficult transition. But I've been seeing a lot in the news recently. There's a lot more news reports coming out about distracted drivers, more deaths on the roads. I think this is like they're laying the foundation for people to be more accepting of fully autonomous vehicles. So that's just my tinfoil hat thinking, hey, somebody up above is just planting some small seeds as to what's going to be going on in the future. So it's coming. And they obviously know that they need to convince the public to be okay with this. Best way to convince the public to be okay with fully autonomous vehicles is say it's safer than having a human driver because you're going to die if a human is driving versus the car driving itself.
Yeah, something like that. And this will come, like maybe I would say again, 3 to 4, 5 years in developed countries where you could implement this, but in countries like Kuwait or any third world country, it's a big challenge. They got to probably, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they gotta figure out a way. Maybe they'll say, okay, you know what, we can since all the cars in the world are now going like this, we kind of have to change our infrastructure and do all this. I don't know.
Or the Cybertruck just drives off-road everywhere and it doesn't matter.
So everybody should have a Cybertruck here.
Oh yeah. Ronaldo, two of my favorite Tesla Bulls at the same time. Love it. Thanks, Ronaldo. Appreciate it, man.
Let's go.
Let's see. I don't know if you know about it. Will you be covering NGL? Nancy Pelosi and Mark Green keep buying the stock. Do you know what NGL is? I do not.
I have no idea what NGL is.
Trays, I apologize. Neither of us know NGL, so we will not be covering that today. But Pejjy's going to look it up, so we'll take a look and see. Actually, I'll take a quick look too and see. NGL. Oh, it's energy.
NGL.
Have they really been buying that? I mean, obviously, that's the crazy thing. I remember the whole Nancy Pelosi thing. The guy who's in jail right now for insider trading, all he did was do all of the Nancy Pelosi trades, and he got arrested for it. But she does it. So I don't understand why it's okay for her. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. 500 million market cap. 550.
That's pretty small. Yeah, that's one that can definitely move a lot.
Yeah. No, I gotta touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. I mean, Trays, I apologize. We can't give you any further information on that, but we will do some research and yeah, not sure that one looks like a risky play, but if Nancy's in it, there's probably a reason. Just don't know.
Yeah.
Compact cars are very popular in Japan. Toyota would poop its pants. They would. And that's going to be the big one. And I have a contact who works at Toyota. And just the news I've been getting from him about, factories getting, put on hold for a couple of weeks because they just don't have enough sales coming through. Still short on parts. Decisions that they make are just old school decisions. It's like when Toyota became popular back in the 70s and 80s, it was because they had a new, fresh outlook on everything. And the reason that legacy auto was faltering at the time is because they had old school mentality. We're now currently at the point where Toyota is suffering from the same mentality that legacy auto was suffering from back then. And that's now the problem that they're having is Toyota's. It's one of the things that you fall into when you're so big and you have not become an agile company like Tesla is you just get so stuck and you can't change. And you're like, all right, well, we're winning. We're succeeding with what we're doing. Let's do what we're doing better. And you keep on doing what you're doing better. But when somebody comes in to disrupt what you're doing, it's so hard for you to change. And then that's
Exactly.
where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big problem with all the big companies. I was surprised to see Apple come up with a VR and nothing that would like kind of compete with Tesla in a way. Like the VR set they came out with, I'm just like, okay, I guess they're doing their own thing, but I was expecting some sort of like a little bit of a competition towards Tesla because, hey, Apple in a way is an AI company too, in a way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I've got a friend who works at Apple, and he cannot confirm nor deny any information that I ask him. However, knowing enough about Apple and from what he's told me, I don't even know if Apple's going to even make their own car anymore, or if that was even ever a thing, or if Apple's just been working on things that are going to be put in vehicles. So thinking about the VR glasses, when we get to fully autonomous vehicles, put on your VR glasses. Now you're going to be in your vehicle and using those. So I think what Apple is going to end up doing in the future is making a lot of accessories and software and different things for vehicles versus making their own vehicle themselves. So they'll be more of a third-party manufacturer for stuff. And they'll probably partner with companies. Maybe they'll partner with GM and Ford to say, hey, you go out there and buy a Chevy Bolt and you're going to get a pair of these glasses with the purchase. Something like that could end up happening.
Yeah, but that's very boring. I mean, yes, they'll make a lot of money doing it, but yeah, I mean, right now it's sitting at a 25, 35 PE, if I'm not mistaken. If they continue being this boring and they keep not innovating, the PE will drop as we keep going forward. I mean, they'll still be a massive company, but they won't be as innovative, and they wouldn't. I mean, the reason why Tesla is valued more than almost all other car companies combined together is because they're so innovative, and because they're doing things that none of these guys were ever doing. And yeah, I guess that's what happens when you're top of the food chain, because Apple is in a way top of the food chain there. But then that's also the best place to be to innovate other cool things that I mean, the VR set looks cool. But do you really want to strap on a VR? Do you really want to have a VR set strapped to your head for like hours? And then, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, but then you also think about 2016, Warren Buffett decided that Apple was worth purchasing. So you could consider Apple to be top of their S curve. But the way Warren Buffett looks at it is this company is going to keep growing. And, you're not going to move a lot. But, basically you have your earnings that come out. Your PE is going to stay about the same. And it's just going to keep on growing in value slowly over time. That's it.
Yeah.
But like you said, you're never going to have these exciting jumps anymore. Nothing that's really going to drive it forward. Like all of that is gone. That died, 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, 15, a growth of 10 to 15% a year they're happy with that.
Right. And that's fine. Most people would be super happy with that growth. But those of us who see what Tesla's going to do, that's why we see Tesla as like Apple was back in 2003, 2004. If we're getting into it now, we still have all of that room to run.
Facts. That's exactly it. Especially with FSD.
Oh yeah. Speaking of FSD, if FSD evolves to see the road the way human eyes see it, there will be no need for lanes on the road. That is true too. So
Yeah,
but
that would mean that all the vehicles on the road have to have FSD.
correct, because
And
that still
yeah,
doesn't take away the human element of
yeah.
other drivers, and that's the bad part.
Sheesh. Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
FSD
we've been on
is
for
gonna,
over an hour and a half, Pejjy. So
yeah,
my battery's going to
sheesh
die soon as
moment.
well. Is there anything else you want to chat about today to discuss?
Well, not really, but I know Q2 earnings is coming, and
Oh yeah, we can chat
we're
about
gonna
Q2
be,
earnings.
yeah, we're gonna be hosting it on Oracle's channel.
Yes.
So I think it's a month. I think a month from now, exactly a month from now, actually. If I'm not mistaken, it's on the 19th or 18th of July. So yeah, we're gonna be, well, Oracle's gonna be hosting the Q2 delivery live stream, and it's gonna be
Yep.
my first one doing it too, because now the timing is better because
Yep.
data
Should be.
savings.
I think July 19th. I believe you are correct.
Yes, and then we'll have like yeah, it'll be us two, and we'll try to get some other people on it as well. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll reach out to a few other people. Farzad usually takes a bunch, but I'm going to try to get Brian from my Tesla weekend on here. If there's anybody else that you guys recommend, go ahead and toss them in the comments below. Let us know if there's any guests you'd like to see if we can have on here. Maybe I can reach out to Lee from Tesla Economist. I'll see if he wants to jump on as well.
Lee.
He was on with Brian and I once before. So you guys let us know who else you want to see. But otherwise, yeah, Pejjy and I will be on here, and Pejjy's moving back to Toronto soon. So he and I will be regulars on each other's channels for a while too, because our times will be about the same. Time zones near the same. So we can
finally.
So awesome, Pejjy. Awesome having you on here. If you guys
pleasure always.
Him, Curious Pejjy over on his channel, I will put the link down in the pinned comments below. You can also check him over on Twitter over there. But Pejjy's awesome. Love him. Guys, definitely follow him. One of my favorites. Otherwise, you guys are good. Anything else you want to share with us, Pejjy?
Where is it? Tesla stock to the moon. Let's go.
Sheesh.
Sheesh.
All right, guys. You are all awesome. Have a great one.